Lanbak the water seller. One day, Borom was happy to be sitting on the throne, as his previous sorrows had been replaced by joys. He decided to go hunting with his friends. They harnessed the horses in the plain, rolled the ball in the grass, and started playing polo. After the horses sweated and the riders grew tired, the king and his friends set up a bar with wine and barbecue under the canopy of trees next to the stream. They had only drunk a few cups of pure wine when one of the elders spoke up. Two men live in this city, one is Lanbak, a water seller, who is poor but good-natured, and the other is Ragam, who is very rich, deceitful and bad-natured. The king's attention was caught by these two individuals, prompting him to inquire about them from his companions. He asked, "Who are these two people, and do you know more about them?" One of the friends responded, "Oh, esteemed king, I am familiar with Lanbak. He spends his mornings to midday providing drinking water to sell in the streets and markets to cover his living expenses. In the afternoons and evenings, he eagerly awaits both invited and uninvited guests. Lanbak never focuses on amassing wealth, but instead prefers to believe he has no hidden reserves, always ready to work to entertain his guests. On the other hand, Ragam is akin to a barren tree, extremely miserly. He possesses numerous treasures and coins, with several silk carpets laid in his house." Borom, upon hearing these words, felt tempted to meet the two individuals. He then instructed the beadle to announce in the market and streets that anyone purchasing water from Lanbak would face severe punishment starting the next day. As the sky turned the orange hue of sunset, Borom hurried to Lanbak's house, knocked on the door, and claimed to be a rebel soldier who had lost his way in the night. He requested shelter for the night. Lanbak, pleased to hear a new and unexpected guest, welcomed Borom, saying, "You are welcome, come in quickly, rider. I hope the king is also pleased with you." Borom dismounted from his horse, and Lanbak promptly took hold of the horse's mane, guiding it to be tied securely. As soon as Borom arrived home, Lanbak hurriedly brought the chessboard to set the stage for a pleasant evening. He also prepared a meal and said, "Dear sir, please set up the chess pieces on the board while I pour you a glass of fine wine." Borom enjoyed the meal and wine, and was touched by Lanbak's hospitality as he arranged the chess pieces. He ended up spending the night at Lanbak's house. The next morning, Lanbak suggested, "It would be wonderful if you could stay as my guest for another day. I need to run some errands in the market, so please rest here. I will return shortly." Lanbak went to the market, but despite his efforts, no one bought a cup of water from him. He had to resort to auctioning off the scarf he was wearing to make some money. With the proceeds, he bought meat and curd, happily returned home, cooked food, and served it to the guest. Afterwards, the chess pieces were set up, and Borom's cup was filled with pure wine and served to him. The night passed, and the next morning Lanbak once again said to Borom, "Dear guest, please agree to be my guest today, so we can play chess together once more. We never know if we will be as happy and cheerful on other days, so it's best to seize the present and try to enjoy ourselves." Borom accepted the offer and replied, "O water seller, I wish you eternal happiness and good fortune." Lanbak left the house, but just like the day before, he was unable to sell water. He had to pawn his water skin and water bucket, borrow some coins, and return home. He happily told Borom, "Get up, my guest, and help us prepare a barbecue by the fire." Soon, the food was ready, wine was poured into cups, and they toasted to the king's health. After the meal, Lanbak set up Borom's bed and placed a candle on it. On the fourth day, as the sun rose, Borom woke up. Lanbak greeted him, saying, "Good morning, my friend. You have been staying in this cramped and dim house of mine for a few days. It may have been difficult for you, but if you are no longer worried about the king's soldiers finding you, you can stay here as my guest for another 2 weeks. Join me so we can have more fun," Borom said to Lanbak. "Well done, you are a good-mannered host. I hope you will always be happy and prosperous. Surely the tree of your hospitality will bear fruit. I will definitely share the story of all your merits in a meeting one day. After that, he bid farewell to Lanbak, mounted his horse, and rode back to the hunting ground, galloping through the plains and valleys until nightfall. After Boram grew weary from hunting and riding, he sought refuge at the opulent residence of Ragam. He knocked on the door of Ragam's palace, and a servant inquired, "Who are you?" Boram replied, "I am a soldier who was out hunting with the king. As night descended, I lost my way and my companions. I seek shelter for the night and assure you that I mean no harm." The servant relayed the message to Ragam, who responded, "Inform the man that he is not welcome here. He should seek shelter elsewhere." Boram pleaded, "I implore you, do not leave me in such a helpless state. I give you my word that I will not cause any trouble." The servant returned to Ragam and reported, "It appears that this rider is quite stubborn, and insists on staying the night. There seems to be no way to persuade him to leave." Ragam instructed the servant, "Inform him that this is a humble abode of a destitute man, who lacks basic necessities, is always hungry, has no supper, and sleeps on the bare ground at night." The servant relayed his master's message to Boram in an attempt to expedite his departure. Boram insisted once more, saying, "I don't want to enter your house, and cause any trouble for the owner. Just allow me to sleep by the door, and I won't ask for anything else from you." However, Ragam disagreed, retorting, "Don't trouble me, you horseman. If you sleep here by my door, robbers might steal your belongings at midnight, or your horse might leave dung here, or worse, kick and damage the bricks of the house, causing me inconvenience. If you promise to clean up after your horse in the morning and take responsibility for any damage to my bricks, then I might consider letting you sleep by my door." Boram agreed, assuring Ragam that he would compensate for any harm done to the house. Then Boram dismounted from his horse, secured the bridle to a corner, unsheathed his sword, placed a felt on the ground, and used the saddle as a pillow before lying down. Ragam addressed him, "O rider, as you reflect on this night, keep in mind that in this world, those with coins can eat, while those without must go hungry and watch others dine." Boram replied, "I have heard this wisdom passed down through generations, and now I witness its truth firsthand." Ragam continued, "Understand this truth and remember, wealth brings happiness to many, as gold coins hold the same value as a grain of corn to them. But those who have nothing must endure thirst, dry lips, and go to bed with a hungry stomach. Just like you, who will have to endure hunger tonight," Boram said. "The things you've mentioned are quite surprising, and I see the truth in them. I truly need to learn from this. I hope you have a comfortable life ahead," he added. Ragam then closed the door, ignoring Boram, and enjoyed a lavish dinner at home before retiring to his warm, soft bed. In the morning, the sun's rays turned the mountain red. Boram saddled his horse and prepared to leave. However, Ragam arrived and reminded him of his promise to clean up and dispose of the horse dung. Ragam pointed out that Boram was not keeping his word. "Why are you delaying, you impolite guest? Sweep up this horse dung and take it to the desert," Ragam demanded. Boram responded by suggesting that Ragam should bring his household servants to clean up the horse dung, and in exchange, he would compensate them with coins. But Ragam said, "I have no one to help me sweep these dung. If you don't want to do injustice, keep your word." When Boram heard Ragam's insistence, a thought came to his mind. He reached into his pocket, and took out a handkerchief impregnated with the scent of musk and perfume. Using the fragrant handkerchief, he collected the dung and then threw it into a pit. After that, Ragam returned inside the house. Boram returned to his palace, but that day he couldn't stop thinking about those two men. He paced the halls of the palace and found it difficult to sleep at night. At dawn, Boram summoned Lanbak to him. Meanwhile, The loyal priest was instructed to visit Ragam's house and take inventory of all his possessions. The man assessed Ragam's property and found the house filled with silk carpets, hundreds of jars brimming with gold coins in the cellar, and a caravanserai stocked with trade goods. There was no empty space left in the house. Leather bags brimming with diamonds, rubies, and gems made it impossible for the priest to count them all. They loaded the treasures onto the backs of camels. However, they had brought too few camels, so they had to bring another 1,000 camels from the plain of Jarum to transport all the wealth to the palace. When the sound of the camel caravan's bell reached Bahram Palace, everyone gazed in astonishment from the palace balcony. One of the courtiers exclaimed, "God bless us, the sheer quantity of these riches is unimaginable." The king was amazed as he looked at all the wealth and thought to himself, "What is the use of all this wealth when your good name is gone?" Despite all his riches, Lanbak, the water seller, was rewarded with 100 camels. Then he summoned Ragam and said, "Indeed, you are in the midst of arrogance. I do not know what lessons of life and belief you have had that you live like this. As you yourself said and taught me, whoever has wealth eats more and whoever does not have it deserves to starve. Now, stop eating and watch the water seller eating, and endure hunger." Then he reminded him of the story of the horse's dung, the brick, and the scented handkerchief, and finally gave him 4 coins to invest his capital and said to him, "You are not worthy of more than this, and truly the poor deserve to have coins and help more than you." So he divided some of Ragam's wealth among the poor, because this was the reward for such a greedy man.